Um, 1 second. I'm still having technical issues. Please bear with.
Jenny, will you be able to authorize this account to share the screen? Jenny? Hello.
Jenny?
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes.
can you authorize this particular account to use screen sharing?
Okay, just a second.
Account. Thank you.
Abhi, can
Yeah,
you hear us?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, sort of. It's very feeble, but
Okay,
you
so
are audible.
okay, basically, can you please grant me permission to share the
Yeah,
screen
yeah,
through
just a
this
second.
account? Yeah, thank you so much.
This is the
Yeah,
account, right? Or the
yeah,
other
yeah,
one?
yeah. I got it. I got it. Thank you so much.
But your voice is very feeble. Could you
Even
try
now,
doing something?
is
It is fine for us. I think. All right, all right, all right.
okay. Cool.
Go ahead, Abhi.
Thank you. So yeah, these are the several IUM practices we follow across the globe. These are basically the objectives of the study, design thinking, the methodology we have adopted for development of such a dashboard. I would be more than happy to answer questions regarding these towards the very end. So why we chose a city like Chandigarh for execution of such a project is basically it is one of the earliest planned cities in India, where we actually have a sectorial land use planning system that shows basically a very rich green and red basically build up and green space balance. It also actually has a very rich data set. The city actually faces a high water consumption situation, and the average water availability in the region is very high. However, the city is hugely dependent on external water supply and administrative convenience and the rich potential for alternate water sources were the factors that we choose. The factors that led to choosing Chandigarh Smart City as the study area. Major site-specific problems identified was that the region actually has a very high water consumption, which is way high, way above the benchmarks of the MAHUA, which Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. There's a high dependency on external water, which would be a threat in the future, and there's a very low recycled water consumption trend across the city. The minor problems we have identified is basically waterlogging in the southern parts of the city. There's also rising groundwater in the southern part, and there's also a shrinkage of renewable water resources in the region. I will be skipping through. Yeah, basically, this is a DEM analysis which shows the elevation of the region. Only the basic thing is that the southeast western part of the city is the inclination of the city falls to the southwestern part, and those are the low-lying regions of the city. And this is the land use land cover map generated through satellite studies. This is basically a population distribution we have in the region. The basic what we need to understand is that the northeastern part of the city is less densely populated when compared to the southwestern part. These population distribution was utilized for understanding how the population have changed across the time, and we have come to the conclusion that the south western part of the city is actually having the highest population change over the period of time. This is the annual growth rate of the city, and because it is actually one of the cities which is having the slowest growth rate, and this is because of the rapid urbanization in the nearby towns such as Mohali, Panchkula, etc. So using the population distribution of the region, we were able to identify or generate a water requirement map, which again shows that the southwestern part of the city would require 11 to 17 MLD, million liters per day, for water consumption. However, one of the striking differences we found is that the water consumption is in the northeastern part of the city, which is actually the least populated area in the city, is actually the highest water consumers too. So this is basically because most of the porch houses or the bungalows of the city is located in this region. And even though the population is less, the water is always utilized for watering the lawn and other luxurious purposes. And this is something we were planning to check in the city in the future. This is basically the water supply network of the region, and we find that the average water consumption of the city is around 245 LPCD, liters liters per person per day. However, the benchmark set by Mahua is around 135 LPCD. And the reduction of this consumption rate was one of the primary goals. The city was able to successfully cut down NRW, basically loss of water, from 36% in 2018 to 20% in 2018. So in 2 years' time, they were able to cut down around 16% of NRW. The cities again depended on external water, which is basically the water from the Kanjavli Waterworks Department. And in itself, the city only has 160 bore wells, which generates just 10 MGD. The average demand for water in the city is around 95 MGD, and the demand is, rises in the summer to around 120 to 125. And this additional water demand is also met through the waterworks of water we pipe in through Kajoli. However, there are some risks we have identified through a case study in the city. It shows that the waterworks sector 39, which is the core water sector, which pulls in all the water. And this dependency would be a problem in the future because in case of any crisis such as a natural disaster or even a power outage, the city's water supply would basically go down in like 2 days time. And over the past 3 years, we studied that around 246 breakdown cases were reported. This is due to the old infrastructure they utilized for the water supply. So these are mini processes we would love to we addressed during our stay there. So the increased demand was is always met through groundwater, and in the future slides you will see how that has impacted the groundwater. The high per capita consumption, especially in the northern sectors, account to almost more than 1,000 LPCD when compared to the city's already high 245 LPCD. And this is due to the increased high consumption of fresh water for non-primary uses. This is the surface water resources available to the city. This is the ground level groundwater level map. Basically shows that the northern sectors where the water is being extracted has been depleting at an alarming rate, and this would be a problem in the future. This is basically a trend analysis of over past 5 years. So what the state of natural water resource in the region, the major water resource is the Sukna Lake in the northern sector, which is an artificial lake and recharged through pipe water by pumping in water. And the natural water resources in the region have disappeared due to the illegal encroachments and pollution in the region. Also, the small water bodies in the peripheries of cities also have depleted, and a drastic depletion of groundwater table in the northern sector has been an alarming fact. The evapotranspiration trend also was studied in this region, and a projection of precipitation to find the feasibility of a rainwater harvesting system in the city in for the future. For we have done a forecasting of to the year 2050, and we find that rainwater harvesting would be a effective tool to address the water situation, as we see an increase of 13.3 to 21.5% in increase in precipitation over the compared to the baseline of 1960 to 1990. This is the potential rainwater harvesting of in the current scenario, which is almost 164.6 MLD, which is more than enough for the water consumption patterns of the city. However, we found that even though this is the real potential, only 9% of the buildings in the city actually has a rainwater harvesting system. And there has been a very poor implementation of rainwater harvesting system in the region, where there's a legislation which enforces that all the buildings which is constructed on area of above more than 505 square meters must have it, but is rarely implemented. And even when implemented, we found out that there's a very poor maintenance of these existing rainwater harvesting system, which basically kills all the potential of rainwater harvesting in the region. These are the sewage treatment plants located across the city. And we found out that only 2.215 MLD of sewage is generated every day. However, the city is well equipped for the sewage generation part, because 100% coverage and 100% efficiency is being reported. The current capacity is 220 MLD, and the city is in the process of upgrading these systems. However, we actually face a problem of low consumption of this treated water. And this is because of the technology they use for the water purification. The treated water actually has a very foul smell in the city. And because of this foul smell, none of the citizens, even the government offices, refuse to use this treated water. This is a water balance study, which basically shows the difference between annual recharge and annual discharge. And the statistics reveal that the city actually has a very healthy water balance of 65.69 MCM. However, this surplus water scenario is a misleading score, because the city heavily depends on the external water, and if that diminishes, the entire city's water supply would just disrupt. This is the water logging sites we have mapped during our study, and we have come up with certain recommendations, such as the upgradation of the drainage networks so that they can withstand a rainfall of 25 rainfall intensity per hour, and a regular maintenance, because most of these low-lying areas is affected due to the blockades in these water networks. And we also have recommended an implementation of NWS or nature-based infrastructure to improve the resilience in the region. This is another proposal we have kept forward for increasing tariff and addressing various problems. And as you see that most of the STP technology used in the city only dealt with, could not deal with the fecal coliform issue, which is one of the major pollutant in the sewage water. And because of this lack of technology, the treated water consumption was extremely low, especially in the private households. So we address these policies. So we address the demand management, we address the shift in recycled water, shift in supply side, nature-based solution, and differential tariff in this project, which falls in line with the national water policy of 2022. These are some of the recommendations we have for the city. However, these recommendations will change from city to city, and the same dashboard will be able to come up with recommendations to address the city-specific problems. For example, a city like Chennai would be more interested to find a solution for water logging rather than additional or extra water consumption. So in Chandigarh, we found out there's a heavy dependency on the Sector 39 Waterworks Department. We have proposed for alternate water sources such as rainwater harvesting, treated water, and double plumbing at household level so that primary water consumption trends remains low. We also recommended a city sewage surveillance system, especially in situations such as COVID, where we would be able to map out the hotspot of most of the pandemics. And we also requested for the upgradation of STPs, which is already in process and is expected to be completed by the end of this year. We also addressed the water logging in the region. We recommended upgradation on the stormwater network. And then we also addressed or recommended certain nature-based solutions for disaster and climate resilience. And this happened after my fellowship. Basically, Chandigarh actually faced a 3-day blackout where the electricity department just decided to pull off the power. And the entire city crippled, and most of the sectors in the region didn't have water. And where there is water, there was no pressure, and the pressure, because of the low pressure, water supply was not met. Even industrial areas such as industrial areas phase 1 and 2 also faced a shutdown, which led to a loss of at least 70 crore a day. So the previous vulnerabilities we have identified played a crucial role in this. The high dependency on Sector 39 turned out to be a disaster during this event. The dependency on electricity grid for supply of water was one of the major threats the system faced. And also the SCADA network, which basically is used for the groundwater extraction system, was dependent on the mobile networks. And because the supply of electricity got cut, the mobile networks failed. And because of the failure in mobile network, water was never being extracted through the groundwater management system. So the limitations of the methodology we have used is one, is highly data driven, and only cities with such a rich data set could leverage this. However, this model could be adopted in cities with less data, but that could be actually a turning point for them for procuring more data sets, which could be learned through machine learning or any other advanced technology. Also, this is a very site-specific study. The methodology adopted here, like during this presentation, is just a one-time case study. However, the dashboard is a very dynamic one, which will keep on performing and will be able to give data analysis of any particular time frame. It could be a days, it could be hours, or it could be for upcoming a decade maybe. So there are some other things we need to address. One is that the trade-off between investment and benefits. We don't have much clarity on how we would be able to benefit the investments. And there's also certain uncertainties, which is based caused due to the climate change and urbanization, which needs to be addressed maybe in the coming models. I would like to thank my guide, Suluna Shekhar, my external mentors, Prasant Paranda sir, Venkatesham sir. Also, I would like to thank my mentors in NIUA, VK Chaurasya sir and Viktor Shinde sir. Also, I would like to thank the team at Mahua, NIUA, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Chandigarh Smart City, Municipal Corporation Chandigarh, my professors in my university, my teammates during this fellowship, and various institutions such as UTN, WRI, UN Water, AIT, UNDP, etc. Without their support, this project would have never happened. Thank you, and I'm looking forward for your valuable comments and feedbacks, and also questions too. Thank you. In case if anyone has a question.
The discussion is open to all.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, sir. My name is Jasna.
Okay.
So my question is, what was the actual intensity of the data set? Like what all, is it only GIS based data or did you collect data from the?
Sure. So basically, these are the various. This is a bit technical, so I will be. We ensured that we only depended on open source data sets during this project, and most of the data sets came from Bhuvan. Or India WRS, then we actually use satellite data such as ESA Sentinel-2 and ISRO's Cartosat DEM data for various data points. Apart from this, the city is also having a very rich data set, which is basically a statistical data set from on groundwater resources and also the water distribution, which was kind of unique when compared to remaining remaining cities. And that is the reason why we came up with such a methodology, which is highly data driven. Yeah.
Okay.
So
is there any suggestion which you would like to give for like data scarce cities?
Okay, so one of the ideas behind this project is basically to have this project implemented across all the smart cities. And such an implementation is only possible when data is available. Instead, we came up with a theory where a dashboard would be initially executed in a city and the data sets relevant to that city. For example, a city like Chennai would be more interested in flooding or waterlogging. And those data sets will be generated by those city executives. And that was the idea. And this framework would at the very end help in comparison of the water efficiency of various cities across India. And maybe we'll come up with a ranking system or an index system which shows the best performer in water, the worst performer, and the best practices those cities have adopted in addressing these. So this is one of the strategies we are looking forward to. However, we intend to remain or focus only on open source data so that it will be accessible to all the parties.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My quick
Sabzi,
my quick question is,
yeah.
Thank you. My quick question would be that in the peri-urban peri-urban areas of generally big cities nowadays, we would see an influx of farms because of ease of logistics. So I know that in this you did not cover that, but interrelationship between those kind of water tables or aquifers versus a city, how do we understand that? And are there technologies to find this out in the first place? Because when I spoke to the Drone Federation of India, they said that there is not even a chance of mapping this with infrared or some other technology. So are you aware of any way where we can launch it with new organizations within the ministry that we can work with to map this data better? Check.
Okay, so to address this, one reason why we have isolated is because of the administrative restrictions we have. So we were focusing only on smart cities, which is often only a part of the city. It's never the entire city that's been addressed. So due to the administrative limitations, we were forced to map out all the peri-urban areas. Another reason why we have outlined the peri-urban areas is because of its complex nature too. So even though we do understand that a pilot project like this requires a very stable situation, and over time maybe it will be able to address a complex scenario like peri-urban areas. The influx of population, the groundwater statistics of these regions are pretty delicate to both extract and also to analyze, and that is the reason why we have completely neglected about this. However, the ministry will be focusing on addressing these issues, especially considering how this project will be replicated initially in the smart cities and later to all the urban centers in this country. The data sets for especially groundwater is available with the Central Groundwater Authority. However, the problem is how accurate it is because of the how scattered all these sensors are being deployed. The accuracy right now we have is very limited, and because of this lack of accuracy, the ability to forecast the trends or even conduct what you say a time series analysis has been complicated. And to also to make things even worse, the geology of the region plays a very crucial role. So whenever we do an analysis like that, we have to be conducting a very micro level study so that we incorporate all the regional characteristics of the region, and that complexity or that micro management is a big hindrance for such a study. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, which brings me to feel like then which government officials, like me coming from a perspective of a campaigner from activist movements, then which government bodies or where should I then push as citizenry to be like, hey, get these in place at a better pace? Because this is about resilience building in these areas, right?
Yeah. So to address that again, the system differs from place to place. For example, a smart city, any smart cities in India actually has the capability to override almost all the regional bodies, and that is the reason why we have piloted this project in a smart city. So the benefit of a smart city is that if I go to the smart city, I'll be able to get the data of PWD, I'll be able to get the groundwater, I'll be able to get the land use, land cover, I'll be able to, it is basically integration of all the domains. However, this is not the case in other cities. For example, as a campaigner, you probably would have realized that if you go to a site to get water data, you have to go to water supply departments or whatever the agency that's doing that work. To get the groundwater, you have to go to the groundwater authority. For irrigation, you have a separate department. And this, what you say, this domain mindset where they actually have this, unnecessarily administrative, they basically work as watertight department, and that is a huge challenge. However, this challenge can be overridden by understanding how the structure of the region is. For example, now I am from Thrissur, and in case if I want to do a study here, I will be contacting the irrigation department just to understand how the water supply in the agriculture domain is. I will be also contacting various panchayats or even corporation to understand how the water supply network is. Then I'll be forced to take up a study on how various dam or irrigation department again controls how water is being distributed from the dams. So it is complex, but again, that's a very site specific question. And identifying the data points and the custodian of those data points will be a very crucial and a tedious process. I do accept it's a tedious process. But luckily in smart cities, we don't have that hindrance. And that is the reason why most of such, what do you say, concepts or pilot projects are being executed in those regions. So to be precise, I don't have an answer to tell which authority you will have to contact unless and until I know which site you are working on. I hope that answered your question. Hello.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Anyway, please do contact me personally or through my LinkedIn profile or something in case if you have a detailed question, because I was actually anticipating much more questions from the methodology part. And I just didn't present it because of the time restrictions. And also I felt that sometimes it may be boring for the general crowd. Anyway, thank you. Do we have any questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Abhi. I am Adesh from TISS Mumbai from Environment, Climate Change and Sustainability
Hi,
Study
Adesh.
course. Yeah, unfortunately, I was not able to watch your complete this session, but I just want to ask about the. This is a little different question from this perspective that uh, we are in now first semester, so in upcoming semester we have to do the internship and that similar field type of work. So how can you assist me and my that batchmates so we can do some internship and some get experience from you also, so get a better field experience? So
So regarding that, I'm actually really happy to hear this, but however, I'm no expert in this. I'm basically a research scholar myself. So I would actually recommend you to take up, there are several opportunities within the ministry. For example, if you're focusing on water management or urban areas, I would recommend you to go up with internship called Tulip internship. So Tulip internships gives you a stipend of around 10K, and you will be able to serve your own corporation or basically the smart city near your area. And they actually has a task of coming up with innovative ideas to solve various problems. So I would recommend you or your teammates to take up such a challenge. However, in case if you're looking for some collaborations in a similar or in similar domains, I will be more than happy to connect with you. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Abhi.
Okay, I just received a message from just now. Okay, I'll respond to it. I'm just typing in my email ID in the chat box so that in case if anyone wants to have a detailed discussion on the methodology or the data sets utilized for the study, may contact me on this particular email ID. Thank you, Jessna. Do we have any other questions? So wrap it there. Anyway, in case if you have more questions, please do feel free to contact me. Thank you so much.
So if you don't have any more questions, I'd like to say thank you, Abhi, for this wonderful session. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Abhi, you're here?
Yeah, I think I'm in a different account now.
Yeah, someone is asking for your LinkedIn.
Oh, sure. Just, if you just search my name, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get it. I actually forgot my LinkedIn ID.
Okay, you're from that Ernakulam, is that?
Not from
Okay, then.
one sec, I'll just drop in my LinkedIn ID.
Yeah, please.
I think that's the right one. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we wrap this meeting then? Jenny? Oops.
Yes, yes.